Hey everyone, Kelly here, and today I'd like to share all the books I read in December. This is December 31st, and I have one book that I am almost done with, so I'm not going to include that in here, but if I finish it today, I might, slip an edited little clip in at the end to talk about that one, but I'm just not sure I'll finish it today. So other than that, I've got a lot of things. What I did kind of in December, I had started off with a couple sequels, and then I was like, I really don't want to go into January with a bunch of books that I'm in the middle of. And at that point I had about 14 books that I had started at some point in the last several months and not finished. And so my goal for the rest of December was just to finish books and not start new things. Now the one that I am finishing today was not part of that, but of those ones that I was partway through, I actually finished 6 in that, and I didn't even start until December 15th. So I'm feeling good that I at least got some of those ones that I had started finished. Hopefully I can continue to finish some more in January, so I'm not taking them all the way through 2026 and just lingering on these books that I'm partway into. And maybe my New Year's resolution would be to not continuously set things down and start new things, because I just get in the mood to start something fresh, and then I just end up with a bunch of things I've 30% of the way into. But anyways, I have 8 books I believe to talk about, and I will do them in kind of reverse my liking. So I have one that I didn't rate, and then kind of my 2-star up to my 5 stars. All right. So the one I didn't rate was The Wild Robot by Peter Brown, and this one is a middle grade novel, and I didn't rate this because I can see the quality of this, and I can definitely recommend it to children. I really want to watch the movie with my kids, but I just was not invested in the book. And I think if I was reading this with my kids maybe, and I had tried this, this is one of those ones I was in the middle of, and then I ended up restarting because I had started this with my daughter 3 years ago or something like that, and she got bored in the middle of it, so we put it down, and then I was like, I just really want to read the rest of that. And so I picked it up this month, started it over, and kind of sped through the part that I had read before, and then finished it. And it's a cute story. It's about a robot who washes ashore on this island and learns how to communicate with the animals and becomes a mother and makes friendships, and it's got some really sweet themes and everything, and I'm sure that watching the movie with my kids will be enjoyable, or if my other daughter wants to read this someday, I'm sure we'll enjoy that. I just wasn't super invested. It was fine. And then I have a 2-star read, which really should have been a DNF. This is one of those ones that I had started a couple months ago, and I kept putting it down because I just wasn't invested in it. And then I was like, no, I needed to finish it before the end of the year, and I really should have just DNF'd it. Because it ended up being 2 stars. I really didn't like this. This is a romance, Never Over by Claire Gilmore. And it's a second chance romance, which I'm usually a hard sell on a second chance romance to begin with. And then it was a dual timeline. And I often, with a second chance romance, don't like the dual timeline. I don't mind if you just talk a little bit about your relationship the first time, but this was every other chapter was 4 years ago and then now. And it just makes me, one, this didn't do it well enough that I kept getting confused of which timeline we were in. And 2, it was I just didn't care about their past timeline. I was yeah, I don't understand why you broke up the first time. Because you know what, when you go back and forth, it's always there's some big thing and we're building up to learning about the big thing. But I'm yeah, I don't really get why they broke up the first time. It just seemed truthfully, it seemed the main female character was just not really good at talking things out or forgiving or anything and so I'm why would you want to get back together with her? And I think that was my other problem, is I didn't really like either of these main characters, so I wasn't really invested in their relationship because I found they were both really bland, and maybe they do deserve to get back together because they just won't communicate, so maybe they shouldn't be with other people. I don't know. I just was not invested in their relationship at all, and I should have quit. There is some music stuff. She wants to become a songwriter, and he is the crew for this traveling tour, and so she comes on tour with him. And yeah, so the music stuff was my favorite part, just because I like to see how people achieve their dreams and goals. So that part was the only part I enjoyed. Everything else, not a fan, so I would not really recommend that one. And then I have a 3-star, unfortunately, Great or Nothing. And it says 4 authors: Joy McCullough, Caroline Tung Richmond, Tess Sharp, and Jessica Sportswood. And this is a Little Women retelling. I had read Little Women earlier this year, and I started this right after that, but I just wasn't feeling invested in it. And so I read like half and then picked it up the second half of the month finish. And I don't like regret reading this. It's not like I necessarily needed it to DNF, like I should have done that other one, but I don't know. I don't really know the audience completely for this because, like I said, it's a Little Women retelling. We're following, but it's kind of a little different in the timeline. One, it's during World War II. And the second is that Beth is dead. And so all of her chapters are like written from beyond the grave, basically. I don't know if it's like her ghost or angel or whatever, doing little poetry. And so like her chapters are all poems in between the other sisters' chapters. And Meg, Jo, and Amy have like split and gone different places after the death of Beth. And so they are like not talking to each other. So it doesn't have that family feel that Little Women does. Like in Little Women, you really feel like their family and their closeness and their relationship with their mother. And this one, Marmee is like very distant as well. Like she's dealing with grief and is very distant, but she's not like connecting in her grief with her daughter. So like, and the sisters aren't connecting in their grief. So I don't know. I just didn't really feel like this was a great retelling because it didn't have the elements of the original that make it shine, which is the relationship between the sisters. Yeah, there was some parts, like if it had just been like maybe following one of them, then maybe I would have liked, because I liked, you know, kind of following, Jo was working in a factory because, you know, like in World War II, a lot of the times women had to go to work in the factories. And so she was building planes that they were using for the military. And so like her story was kind of interesting. And then Amy was working with the Red Cross and her story was interesting. So maybe like individually, but as a Little Women retelling, it didn't fully work for me. And then we're moving into books that I actually liked, so 4 stars and above. I have a sequel, What Stalks the Deep by T. Kingfisher. This is the 3rd book in the Sworn Soldier, well, so far it's a trilogy, and they're novellas. And I do really like the main character in this. I like the characters. This one was not my favorite. I gave the first book 5 stars, What Moves the Dead. I enjoyed the second one, a solid 4 stars. This one I gave 4 stars, but it wasn't necessarily a solid 4 stars. It was because I enjoyed the characters, but the plot wasn't my favorite of the 3. And I don't know if there's another one, if I will continue or if I will feel like satisfied with how much I've read so far and that I'm good. I don't need to like keep going, because it does kind of feel like it's mostly the same thing over and over again. So I'm not sure I would be needing to keep going, but this was still an enjoyable kind of slightly creepy vibe thing going on. So in this, our main character, who now I forgot their name, Alex, is going to America, I think for the first time, and to help Alex's friend there's a friend from the first book that we had met, and so Alex is meeting up with that friend, and that friend, now I can't remember, Denton, yeah. So his friend Denton, his brother has gone missing in a mine, and so Denton asks Alex to come help him find his brother. And so a lot of this takes place in a mine. So I did think those scenes were good because I feel pretty claustrophobic being underground, and we feel that, like Alex is very uncomfortable being underground. And so we really, like in the writing, feel that uncomfortability in the close spaces and the dark and all of that. So that was all like atmospheric and all that, but the overall plot just I wasn't fully like super on board for the plot, but still love Alex as a character and Alex's interaction with other characters. So yeah, I'm feeling satisfied with the trilogy where it is now and feel good to be like, I'm done with that. And then I had a collection of fairy tales that I've been reading for a few months. So I finished those off. I read like one a day for like several weeks at the end of December. And this is Snow White and Other Grimm's Fairy Tales. And this is the one that's illustrated by Mina Lima, who do different types of retellings that are highly illustrated. And I do really like their illustrations. And they usually have kind of like little interactive elements as well. So like things that are like 3D or things that spin or whatever. And so this is just a collection of Grimm's fairy tales. I enjoyed it. There are some fairy tales in this that I'm like, why did they choose those fairy tales? Because some were like really the famous ones that you know, everybody knows like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, Goose Girl, Rapunzel, Hansel and Gretel, all those. But then there was a couple that I was like, I've never heard of this fairy tale and it wasn't that interesting, so I'm not sure why you would pick it for this one. But for the most part, I just enjoy these. These are just the fairy tales with really pretty pictures, and just reading 1 or 2 a day was just kind of a fun way to enjoy the art in here. And sorry, I was trying to sit so where my Christmas tree would like block the sun coming in through my windows, but I think as it moves, I am getting little sun blotches. All right, then I had a Christmas book. This is a reread. I read A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews, and I read this like I think 3 or 4 Christmases ago. Gave it 5 stars, really loved it. This time I would say maybe it's more of a 4-star, and maybe that could be because I've already read it. But I still really like this romance. It's a little romantic Christmas novella. We're following a woman, Sophie, who she was being courted by this man. She is like an aristocrat, whatever you would call, like, you know, member of the ton or whatever. And then he is a merchant. I think he's a merchant. I don't know. He's really, yeah, he is a merchant, and he's really rich, where her family is losing money. Their family money is like running out, and so she is like courting this merchant so that she could have his money, but that, you know, she still has her place in society. And they have like a falling out, but her dad and her parents were like expecting them to get like together. And so she's like, well, let's try one more time. Why don't you come to my family home for Christmas and we'll just see what goes from there. And then obviously it's a romance. It's cute. It's, you know, Victorian. I do really like their relationship and how it builds when they finally start like talking to each other and being themselves and all that. And there's a lot of Christmas vibes in this. You know, they're going out and getting the Yule log and the mistletoe and all that stuff. So there's some really nice Christmas moments. So I enjoyed reading that again. All right, and then I read another sequel. I read A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is the second book in this series. What is this? The Anna and Den mystery series. And the first one is The Tainted Cup. I almost forgot. And I just read The Tainted Cup, and I went right into this because I was like, I really want to be better of continuing series while they're in my mind. And I enjoyed this one like I enjoyed the first one. I think I enjoyed this one a little bit more. Still 4 stars, but I enjoyed it more because I understand the world more and the interaction between the different like levels of people. And there's also like levels of the world as well. And there's a lot of world building in book 1. So I felt like I understood more of who's what and who has what kind of powers in this world. There are a lot of people that have been kind of like enhanced to have different powers. Our main character, Den, that we are following, has the ability to like remember everything. Basically, he's called an engraver, so any conversation he has, anything, he remembers everything from it, and then he goes to our detective Anna and like tells her everything, and then she puts it all together. And I apologize if you hear like Minecraft noises in the back. My daughter's playing Minecraft and I can't tell how much you can hear on the microphone. But anyways, this is another, you know, kind of murder mystery that we are figuring out. And they're really long, but they always have stuff going on. So it doesn't feel necessarily like they're really long when you're reading them, because we're building this whole fantasy world and the characters. There's a lot of side characters in this that I was starting to get invested in certain side characters. And yeah, still enjoying this. If there was a 3rd book that comes out in 2026, I would pick that up too, because I do think these are entertaining. And then last, my favorite book that was another one that I wanted to finish up before the end of the year, and I had started a few months ago, and I was taking my time with it, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna finish it off, is Good Inside, A Guide to Becoming the Parent You Want to Be by Dr. Becky Kennedy. And this is a parenting book, but it's like it's a really good parenting book. If you don't have a lot of time to read, you know, parenting books, which, you know, parents don't have necessarily a lot of time to read parenting books, this is a really good one. I think Dr. Becky does a great job of really treating kids that their feelings are important, and that a lot of times the undesired behaviors that they do is a result of like either a lack of connection with their parent or something else that's going on in their life, and like getting down to what is going on inside their bodies, their feelings and all that. And by recognizing those and validating them, it can change the behavior as opposed to just like a punishment or consequence based trying to change the behavior. This is like really getting to the heart of it. And I think this also is really important for all human interactions. Like my husband and I both, well, he isn't reading the book. He was doing like, there's an app with like different workshops, which are the same things, but just in more of like a video based thing instead of reading the book. But we're learning the same kind of stuff. And I think that we've been using it with each other as well. Cause sometimes, you know, forget that like if your spouse is grouchy with you, maybe they had a hard day at work and it's just coming out that way. And when you finally get to the heart of the matter, you find out that's why somebody is, you know, being rude or snappy or whatever. So yeah, I think, you know, it sounds like common sense, but I think that sometimes reading this, I'd be like, yeah, that totally makes sense. And you know, my feelings were hurt when somebody did something, and so I didn't see that they were also hurting. And I think that a lot of what Dr. Becky says is really good for parenting, or just how we treat each other in general. So 5 stars. I definitely would watch some of her videos and podcasts and all of that stuff so that I could get more information, because I really like her methods. And that's it. Those are the books I read. Like I said, I have one more that I'm hoping to finish, and I'll start it here if I do. If not, then that's it for me. And I will see you next time, and Happy New Year. Bye.